Hey, what is up guys, this is Cobb, and welcome to 8 epic champions that you absolutely must build if your account actually needs them. Of course, as always. On screen right now are the names of all of the epic champs, and there are a lot of them that we've covered in this series so far. And so you know that by now, the next 8 champs we're about to cover, dude, these guys are getting increasingly niche, which I think is awesome, because it means that we're getting to spotlight some champs that maybe have been around for a while, but have maybe been power crept just a little bit, and so they've lost the spotlight a little. We've got a couple of Sylvan Watchers guys in there as well that are fairly new, and that we actually just haven't got around to covering just yet. But we're going to be starting off with a champ that we've just slept on so far in this happy little series, and that is going to be Umbral Enchantress. So, what's she all about? Well, her reviews kind of speak for themselves, dude. Look at these arena ratings. Kind of insane. Really, really good in Faction Wars as well. What's it all about? She's sort of like bang average everywhere else. So what is she up to? Well, the A1 is quite vanilla, right? Attack when enemy damage increases as current HP decreases. Sort of whatever. The A2, juicy, man. Attacks all enemies. Bucked. 100% chance of placing a block buffs debuff for 3 stinking turns. Very, very solid indeed. And this kind of explains a super positive Faction Wars score as well, just being able to block buffs on those waves, stop them doing... I think they placed a counter-attack debuff in Demon Spawn Faction Wars, and so you can completely negate that and stop that from ever being a problem. Very, very nice. And the A3 is an attack all enemies with a 100% chance of placing a provoke debuff for 2 turns. 2-turn provoke, dude. On an AoE, that is not a common skill to pick up, at least as far as epics go. Then places an unkillable buff on this champion for 2 turns. Now, the drawback, there's a give and take here, man, because this is just too good, right? Places a block active skills debuff on this champion for 5 turns. The block active skills debuff cannot be removed by any method. Can't be resisted either. Now that is quite the lockout, but if all of your opponents are dead before the provoke wears off, then who gives a damn, right? Umbral Enchantress is a void affinity epic, meaning that she cannot weak hit, which is why you can take her into arena as long as she gets to attack in first and she has the accuracy and she meets the accuracy requirements. She's going to land that 2-turn provoke on the entire enemy squad. Alternatively, you can even open up with the A2 instead. Place the block buffs debuff first. That's another way you can go about it, and then follow up in the next turn with the massive AoE provoke. So she's just extremely, extremely solid into arena. Where else is she good? Well, according to hellhades.com, which is where I did a little bit of homework on this champ, the second wave going into the harder stages of Ice Golem will also place reflect damage buffs on themselves. So if you're not able to kill those nades off quickly with your Ice Golem team, you can throw Umbral Enchantress in there, preset, like set her up, you know, in the team setup settings to lead in to that pack with the block buffs debuff against that pack, and you'll be golden. She also has an extremely, extremely positive score on hellhades.com going up against the Magma Dragon, which leads me to believe that she can keep the son of a gun permanently provoked if you just build her with enough speed, is what I'm thinking. Long story short, Umbral Enchantress, is she a must build, especially if you pull her early? Man, you're goddamn right. Next up, heading on into the Sylvan Watchers, we have good old Renon the Silken? I'm not sure how to pronounce this name, man. We'll just call her, well, Renon. So this is the kind of epic that's just going to help you out generally in kind of all areas of the game if you pull her early on. Otherwise, she will just scale into a very, very good Sylvan Watchers specific content kind of epic, right? Faction Wars, Secret Rooms, that kind of thing. What's she all about, man? The A1 has a honestly pretty decent chance for an A1 of placing the strong version of decrease attack, which is just pretty nice all in all. The A2 fills 10 meter of allies by 15%, also place the strong version of increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns, very, very nice. And she also brings a revive. Is it incredible revive? I mean, it's all right, you know, it's an epic tier revive, it kind of feels like that too. It's a revive with 50% HP, 30% turn meter, and places a 15% continuous heal buff on that ally for 2 turns. And of course, revives can never be underestimated in the likes of Faction Wars, where you're just trying to finish these stages with as many champions left alive as possible, so you can 3-star those Faction Wars stages. Ooh, and would you look at that, even her aura is actually an ally speed and faction crips by 20%. Pretty good, man. And you know what? If you were not lucky enough to get your hands on Estrid in the last fusion, maybe you missed out on that, maybe you just couldn't meet the thresholds, whatever. Similar to Estrid, she brings the speed buff and the 10 meter fill, but she doesn't quite bring the same, you know, increased attack buffs and like the weaken debuff and stuff like that. She's kind of like an Estrid light if you need that for your Sylvan Watchers. Now, while I do feel like she is solid, she doesn't exactly scale up into like the more difficult content in the game all that well. She's probably the kind of champ that you can just slam in maximum speed gear, level her up to 50 and just kind of leave her at 50. Maybe max her out if you really like playing with her and you feel like you have the need. But all the same, a solid epic that deserves a little bit of consideration. And hey man, you know, gotta shout out our happy little promo code, which is of course GameLeap. If you haven't already, input code GameLeap to get yourself 10 free experience brews, a free energy refill, and 100,000 silver, and make sure to share it with your clanmates as well, even if you have already used the code yourself, man. Help your goddamn clan brothers out. Back to the Demon Spawn faction, where we're gonna take a quick look at good old Nazana, boys. This is another one of those champs that just scales very, very well after normal dungeons into one specific area of the game, and that is going to be Magma Dragon. So what's Nazana all about? Let's check out a kit, man. So the A1 straight up is an attack all enemies, which is always lovely to have. On the A2, places a 50% ally protection buff on all allies for 2 turns. Extremely, extremely nice. Then place a shield buff on this champion for 2 turns. The value of the shield is equal to 40% of this champion's max HP. Really, really good stuff, man. Massive, massive survivability across the entire team. Hyper useful, by the way, into Magma Dragon. You know what else is useful into Magma Dragon? Decrease attack. Now, this one is not completely reliable, so you will have to pair her up with another kind of like semi-reliable or just whatever, unreliable decrease attack champion to ensure that you maintain that against the Magma Dragon. But the A3 is an attack all enemies, which bucked up gives a 75% chance of placing that strong decrease attack debuff. Does it require a decent amount of skill bucks to get there? How much does it require in the A2? Not that many, at least. You're just, I guess, hoping that these skill books don't go into the A1, and it shouldn't be too painful. Then again, if it was me rolling these skill books, I know for a fact I'd go 4 for 4 in the A1 before I touch anything else, but hopefully that's just me, man. I've also heard some crazy, crazy talk that Nazana can actually get some very, very solid value as well. Not just with these debuffs, right? The A2 and the A3, both still very, very good. Ally Protect, all that good stuff. And then for the A1, smacking Nazana in a Cursed set and taking it into Hydra to apply the Hex debuff. That's maybe a way that you can go about it as well. If you tried that out, I'd love to hear how that went. Besides that, accuracy, speed, plenty of health. Jobs are good on good old Nazana. Next up, and I might cop some heat for covering this champ, I'd love to hear what you guys think about this epic champ that I've pulled right here. Actually quite a while ago, and I just kind of haven't leveled her yet. And it's good old Ward Painted. Now, when she was first released, she was apparently absolutely awful, and now she's been buffed up to at least be like, I don't know, like an average kind of steady healer epic champ. In fact, I'm pretty sure like all of her power is realistically in one skill. Okay, so let's just break down the kit real fast, man. And do let me know what you think of this champ down below as well. I'm not sure that she's an automatic 6-star, by the way. I'm putting her in this video because I want to talk about her. That's it, really. So the A1 is an attack one, and it'll be 2 times, 25% chance of placing a block active skills debuff for 1 turn. Very, very niche, of course. The A3, which I'm going to jump to first, attacks 1 enemy, has a 100% chance bucked of placing the block active skills debuff for 2 turns. Okay, so at least it's more reliable on the A3. But that's none of this is what it's all about, right? It's all really about the A2. So it only requires 1 skill tome to get this son of a gun off, which is great, because if you just spend 1 skill tome on Ward Painted and it goes into the A2, you're done. Like, job complete, you know, mission accomplished. Removes all debuffs from this champion and 1 random debuff from all allies. Awesome. Then heals this champion by 100% of their max HP and heals all allies equal to 50% of the surplus heal. Dude, that's kind of cool, man. She's an HP-based champ as well, so just building out to have a ridiculous amount of health and getting a massive, massive AoE heal off here on everybody. Like, man, if you max heal Ward Painted while she's like 90% health, bro, that's healing the crap out of everybody else on your team. Really, really nice. And even then, it has the additional effect of afterwards place a 30% reflect damage buff on all allies for 2 turns, then grant this champion that extra turn. And so really, this might look like a 4-turn cooldown fully booked, but because you get that extra 10, it's actually a 3-turn cooldown, which is just sweet. And yeah, I think this is something to do with her being a little bit underrated here in Fire Knight's Castle, because I'm assuming she was buffed up quite a bit from how she was when she was first released. But 4.1 is not quite representative. She, of course, has that double hitter on the A1, and being able to place the reflect damage makes it so that when the Fire Knight refreshes his shield and attacks into your team, he's going to reflect hopefully 5 lots of damage and lose 5 stacks of the shield immediately. So the reflect damage is actually a really, really good addition to this skill. And yeah, After she's used it, of course, she gets the extra 10, which is just nice, man. Is Ward Painted an automatic level 60 on your account if you pull her? Almost certainly not. Unless, I'd say, you pull her very, very early on, right? If your account is still in its very, very young days and you're just looking for a good, stable healer that's going to get you through a whole bunch of content, at least normal mode content and stuff, for quite a while to come, and just be like a reliable component of your team until you find better healer options, then hell, maybe Ward Painted is one that you want to take another look at, man. Oi oi oi. What a cool champ, dude. I just like good, steady champs like this. What can I say, man? Next up, dude. How have we not covered Dudan? Look at this guy. And man, he's been getting all kinds of respect in other folks' videos recently. And man, I pulled this guy a while ago. He's just been sitting there on my account. I just haven't maxed him out yet. He's still sitting at rank 4. And I didn't even realize what I've been sitting on, man. So, dude in the runic, I mean, let's just get to the kit. So the A1, attacks one enemy, has a fully bugged up, that's a 60% chance of removing one random debuff from all allies. That's actually crazy, right off of the get-go. From an A1, dude, all allies, man, that's kind of nuts. The A2, it gets even better. The A2, attack all enemies, place a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns equal to this big Chungus's HP. That's 15% of this big Chungus's max HP. Increase the duration of all buffs on all allies by 1 turn. This is a premium skill to have. Honestly, the shield is just a big bonus to the increased duration of buffs on allies by 1 turn. And on the A3, remember the A1 as we go into the A3 here. So the A1 is like a cleanser, right? Well, the A3 places a taunt buff on this champion for 1 turn, also places a strengthen buff and a counter attack buff on this goddamn dude for 2 turns. And this is bookable down to a 3-turn cooldown. Perma counter attack, boys. That's crazy as hell. That means a lot of purging of buffs across your entire team, which is sweet. And because he's actually stacking so many buffs on himself, dude, this guy is sweet as a Hydra mischief tank. Also, just like Ward Painted, he requires very, very few skill tomes to bring online as long as the rolls are that little bit lucky, right? You're just trying to reduce the cooldown in the A3. That's all that matters. Dudan is not a buck-hungry champ. He just isn't, man, because the A2, as nice as it would be to actually reduce the cooldown of this skill, there's just no option to do so, right? And so skill tomes into the A2 really don't matter. Skill tomes into the A1, I mean, they're not the worst thing in the world, right? To increase like the proc chance of the cleanse on the A1, like they're fine into the A1, but realistically, as long as you get the bucks to land in the A3, then you're good to go. Now, when it comes to gearing up your dude, and realistically, just maximum tankiness is sort of the name of the game. He's going to be taking all kinds of hits, right? And so it's important that he stays alive. That's all there is to it, really. Immortal sets, Guardian sets. He's a great candidate for the Guardian set. He just really, really excels at just giving that massive kind of spread bonus to survivability across your entire team, given that he's cleansing everybody, given that he's already shielding everybody. The Guardian set just really kind of supplements that quite a bit. I would be looking to slam this guy in a Guardian set personally. Next up, we have what might be the epic king of faction wars from the Orc faction, known as Old Hermit Yorg. Dude, this guy, when it comes to supporting, he kind of just has everything you could possibly want for faction wars. You know what? Again, if you pull him early on your account, he's probably worth just maxing out anyway, and then you can eventually kind of retire him to like the Orc specific content, I'm gonna call it, as time goes on. But dude, his kit is solid, man. Check out the A1, even the A1 brings with it a chance to HP burn, which is great. The A2, he's bringing the strong version of increase attack on all allies for a couple of turns and 10 meter fill on all allies by 20%. Very, very nice. Only, again, requires 2 skill bucks, as long as they roll nicely. And on the A3, of course, crucial for faction wars for securing those juicy 3 stars on your faction wars stages. Revives 2 random allies with 60 HP, then fills the 10 meters by 40, and plays the Perfect Veil buff on them for 2 turns, which of course Perfect Veil makes it so they cannot be targeted by single target hitters, area of effect attacks only, and so this helps protect them. It's lovely stuff, and yeah, once again, only a couple of skill bucks required into this. So if you just get super, super lucky, pump 4 skill tomes into Old Hermit Yorg, there's like not the worst chance in the world that they all just go into the A2 and the A3 and you're good to go. Given Old Hermit is looking to be your 10 meter filler and just maintain these buffs as much as humanly possible, it's pretty safe to just smack him in as much speed gear as humanly possible. You will need to get him a little bit of accuracy, so maybe like a Perception 2 set or whatever to make sure that you're able to hit the HP burn. That can be fine. You can also slam him even in the likes of a Relentless set, just to dial the cooldowns down a little bit, so long as he is still plenty fast, of course, in that Relentless set, because yeah, spamming out the fill 10 meter as much as possible on the A2 is still going to be kind of crucial. Next up, dude, how have we not spoken about Rockbreaker yet? Well, I think I actually did in a somewhat recent video talking about more underrated champs, but we're going to touch on him again here, just because, yeah, he deserves a spot in these videos, man. This guy is just an absolute juggernaut of a tank. Man, check out this kit, dude. So the A1 attacks one enemy, increases this champion's defense by 4% each time this skill is used, stacking up to just a constant 20% increased defense buff. Crazy as hell. And on the A2 has a god. This is where it gets nuts, right? So it's a 100% chance of placing a provoke debuff on all enemies for 1 turn, and place the counterattack buff on this champ for 2 turns. Dude, this guy stacks up that 20% extra defense in no time flat. It's ridiculous, man. Not just that, but the passive also has a, god, what is this? What is this fully bugged up? 50% chance of decreasing the damage inflicted on this champion by 50% each time this champion is attacked. And my god, dude, I see why I put him in the underrated champs video. Look at these ratings, dude. Oh my god. People crap all over Rockbreaker, man. Only a 4.6 in Faction Wars? Are you kidding me, dude? I don't know about that, man. I feel like this guy is underrated, and you know what? I do think that he's worth a place in this video. Now, is he an automatic 6-star? Realistically, by the time you're thinking about getting around to 6-starring your Rockbreaker, you've probably got a better dwarf tank option. Also, just the kind of champ that keeps on getting like knocked down the priority list. Every time there's like a shard pulling event, you pull 1 or 2 more champs that you think, ooh, I could really do with 6-star and those guys, and then Rockbreaker keeps on getting moved down the waiting list, you know, and he just never quite gets there. Even still, I think at level 50, solid gear and stuff like that, good accuracy, so you can always be landing this provoke and just getting max value. He just seems solid to me, and I do think you could get pretty good value out of him even at a level 50. And lastly, the nichest of all niche epic champs, dude. We are venturing into the Shadowkin faction to check out good old Sachi, who apparently has a thing for rope, and we're not just talking about that weapon, man. I don't know what's going on with all of this goddamn self-tied up action. Now, Sachi is one of those epic champs that, again, I think the earlier you pull... I mean, look at these ratings, dude. The earlier you pull your Sachi, I think the more likely it is that you're going to be maxing her out, because she's just kind of pretty good into everything. She's one of those, right? Now, she will actually specialize a little bit as time goes on as well into very certain areas of the game, and we'll get to that in just a sec. But let's take a quick look at the kit first, man, because it's kind of crazy. It's so niche, man. She does a lot of interesting things. Attacks all enemies on the A1, has a fully bugged 50% chance of placing strong decrease accuracy debuff for 2 turns. Even that is just an A1 is so unique, man, and so strong, honestly. The A2 attacks one enemy, 100% chance bugged of placing a strong decrease crit rate debuff and a leech debuff for 2 turns. Very, very nice to have the decreased crit rate, by the way, against certain bosses to ensure you don't get randomly one-shotted in harder stages by, for example, Ice Golem. And the leech is, of course, healing. That is just useful everywhere. The A3, man, it gets even crazier. Plays a strong increased attack buff on all allies for 2 turns. That's lovely, so she does bring that. Then attacks one enemy. Fill the turn meters of all allies by 20% if this attack is critical, so she brings a little bit of turn meter fill. So if you have a speed booster champion already on your team, and you have that covered, but you still need turn meter fill, Sachi can come in there as a kind of middle ground, right? She's sort of like a half support, half damage dealer, because she'll be building out with 100% crit. And this is even further supplemented by her crazy passive, dude. No cooldown on this, by the way. Revive a random ally with 30% HP whenever this champion kills an enemy. Has a 50% chance of placing a fear debuff on all enemies for 1 turn whenever an ally is revived. Dude, I have never seen a passive like this on an epic champ before, man. What is this? This is so crazy. So you can actually build Sachi, and from what I understand from my homework, you can build Sachi to just be, you know, high accuracy, high speed, debuffer style, you know, support champ. If you're really just focused on the decreased accuracy debuff, decreased crit rate, the leech, all of that kind of stuff, that's one way you can do it. Otherwise, if you've got the the gear in the bank and the artifacts in the bank to do it. You can even build her in something like a Savage set, right? So she's doing pretty solid damage. As long as you're still going to need accuracy, of course, right? You can't neglect the accuracy. The debuffs are too good to be neglecting the accuracy, but you can make it so that she's much, much more likely to get kills and potentially be triggering the revive on her teammates. It's just nuts, man. And yeah, she's sort of good everywhere. Where does she really excel? Well, we've already alluded to it a little bit. I think that she's pretty darn good into Ice Golem, where it's more of like a slow battle of attrition, right? You're not necessarily trying to blow the Ice Golem up super, super quickly as you're progressing through the stages, right? Decreasing that crit rate, getting the leech buff up, all of that is going to help. Even the decreased accuracy debuff is going to help quite a bit against Ice Golem as well. Reduce the chance that you get frozen. At least I think decreased accuracy works against Ice Golem. Correct me if I'm wrong. The 10 meter filler is obviously good everywhere, but even against Dragon as well, these are just some pretty decent buffs to have on hand, particularly the decreased crit rate. You don't just want to get wiped out as you're trying to push into harder and harder stages of Dragon. Having that crit rate reduction is grand. Also, Dragon, decreased accuracy. That is of some merit as well. At least I think it is. Dragon poisons. You decrease accuracy to Dragon. God, I'm blanking a little bit there. But even the decreased accuracy against Spider's Den as well. Just reducing the accuracy of all the Spiderlings? Is that why this rating is so good? Like, the rest of the kit is like okay as well, but reducing the accuracy of the Spiderlings and stuff, is that like a thing? So that your tank for the Spiderlings just almost never gets poisoned and you don't have to build that much resistance on them to get the job done? Maybe that's the thing too. She's just kind of like this jack of all trades, man. I really, really like this champ. Next up, a champ that you can get completely for free by clicking on the promo link down below at the top of the video description. If you want to get your hands on the Epic Attack Champion Juliana Boss Killer Epic Attack Champion, simply click on the promo link down below to start off your new Raid Shadow Legends account with this free Epic Champ and a whole bunch of starting freebies to kickstart your new account. So if you're looking to start off a new free-to-play adventure, or you have a friend who maybe wants to start playing Raid, dude, send them that goddamn promo link. It's going to be awesome. And hey, if not, make sure to use the promo code GameLeap to get your hands on that free energy refill, those experience brews, and that 100k silver. And hey, both of those things go a long, long way towards supporting this channel. So thank you, boys, for doing that. And hey, man, for now, thanks for watching. Hope you all did enjoy. Keep the Epic Champ suggestions for this series coming down below. I'd love to read those. And I'm going to catch all of you guys just a tad bit later, man.